Okay, guys, so welcome. This is getting started with green screens. This is going to be the basics and starting on a budget, because I know just like any other project and program that we do, sometimes we can go in the rabbit hole and spend a ton. And the cool thing about the green screens is if you are just getting your feet wet and trying them out to see if it's something you want to use, that being on a budget really helps. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is things I've learned over the years, some things that have worked really well, some things that have not, and I'm going to give you some tips for starting. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name's Brene Duggins. I'm the media coordinator at Oak Grove High School. I have been teaching for 17 years. This is my 18th year, and I've been in the media center for 14 of those. I have taught at all three levels in the public schools. So I've been at elementary, middle, and high school, and I also teach at the community college as well. Outside of my day job, I'm also the fire prevention coordinator and a firefighter with Holly Grove Fire Department. I've been in the fire service for 18. This is year 19 starting this year. And out of those, all but one of those have been doing fire prevention and educational programming. And so a couple years ago, it actually popped up on Facebook a little bit ago. About 8 years ago, I did my very first presentation merging what I do in the school system with the fire service. I was asked to come and teach a session at the Fire and Life Safety Educator Conference in Asheville on smart boards. So how, when we went into the classroom, if we were in the fire service going into a school, how would we use that crazy thing on the board? And it has blown up since then. So many things that I teach my teachers to do and help them integrate in their classrooms work for educators in the fire service as well. And we are doing things constantly right now in the school system because of being in this virtual world. So we are constantly learning new things, new tools coming out, and they're applicable to everybody. So that's kind of how this all kind of got started. The next thing I'd like for you to do is sign in, and I'm going to grab this link really fast, and I'm going to put it in the chat window for you. If I can find, oh, there it is, because my monitors are set for, they're set a little bit different than I'm used to. Okay. There you go. So in the chat window, I have the link for my sign-in sheet. So if you will please make sure you check the chat window and sign in. While you're doing that, we're going to talk about today's agenda. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how do green screens work? Like, what is it? Why does it? How does it work? Why would we even use green screens? We're going to talk about what everybody wants to know. What equipment is needed. And we're going to talk about the budget-friendly needs, and then we're going to talk about Mrs. D's wish list. And if you end up with, unlimited budget or a pretty large budget to start this type of project, some things you might want on your wish list as well. We are going to actually look at the process. So you are going to get to see me demo making a video. And I have a lovely volunteer who has come down to the media center to assist me with that so that you can actually watch how we film. And then I'm going to give you some tips and tricks from me that I have learned over the years. I have used green screens for, goodness gracious, probably more than 8 years. And I am still learning constantly and tweaking the process and making things better. And it is something that we were actually talking about today. My assistant, my ETMS in here, we were talking about how many times students were in here constantly pre-COVID recording using the production room and the green screen because they could do things for every subject, every topic. They could come up with ways to use the green screen for their recording and their projects. And even teachers can use it. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Things that I've learned, tips and tricks, hopefully to get your feet wet and get you started. And then next Tuesday, we are actually going to be talking about projects. And I'm going to be giving you ideas and tips on types of projects and things that I've learned working with other people recording, as well as recording things myself. So right off the bat, how do green screens work? So Green screens literally are a solid green screen, sheet, fabric, wall, whatever, that's placed in the background behind somebody. So imagine like a weatherman on the news. They have that, what we see is we see a weather map. Well, they're standing in front of a solid background, and off to the side normally is a monitor that they can actually see what's on that screen. And so there's special software that is going to allow you to edit out that green and replace it with an image or a video. So it gets kind of fun because students realize if I'm talking about a subject, or let's say we're going on a virtual field trip, I could have an image behind me. In ag, we have had students that have placed, an animal, and they're identifying parts of an animal behind them, very much like a weatherman. They're pointing to things and pointing it out. Or it could be even in history where they're talking about a battle, like a Civil War battle, and they could have a reenactment video behind them and they're acting it out like they're there, or they're dressed up and they're talking about a location. We've even had Spanish do weather reports from locations. So the students located images and videos of places in different countries, and then they were doing the weather reports as if they were really there. So there's all kinds of things. D is in the chat window suggested fire escape planning, like getting out of a smoky house. Absolutely. So the kids could actually act it out using the green screen. And I'll talk about the way they can see what they're doing as well. And then they demonstrate it, and they have a video that shows them actually doing the activity and actually acting it out, which makes it really cool. So here's a picture of what it looks like with like a weatherman. So if you notice, the guy on camera has a big green wall behind him. But if you see on the screen right to our left, you see the weather map and the weather on there. What's really cool is we can put whatever we want on there, something that we have taken ourselves, like an image. It could be something, as some of y'all may have done some of the Canva sessions that I've done, you could have created an image in Canva and put that in the background. So it can be all kinds of things. So think weatherman, that's kind of how we're acting this out. And so this is a really brief video. And if you cannot hear the audio, please hit in the chat window.
Now this may shock some of you, but contrary to what your eyes are telling you, I'm not actually on the beach. The truth is, I'm in a film studio, and this whole scene is a lie. So what devilry is this?
The illusion is created with a simple green screen, that familiar old special effects tool used in everything from weather forecasts to feature films.
Filmmakers love this tool because it allows them to create an entirely new scene in the background of any shot. They can put anything back there, video, graphics, you name it.
But if you ever find yourself in front of a green screen, be careful. There are some things you need to do to make the shot work.
Most importantly, don't dress to match. If your clothes are green, parts of your body will turn out invisible, which can be weird and scary for the viewer.
In fact, the effect works best if you dress in simple, solid colors. Avoid complex and noisy patterns if you can. They tend to dance on screen.
Also, watch out for shiny objects like jewelry or polished shoes, which can sometimes catch some of that pesky green light. Even white clothing can sometimes be too reflective.
This trick only works because the color green gives a nice contrast to human skin tones, so the process of removing the green is way easier if there's a nice crisp edge to work with. If there's a lot of loose clothing, rapid movements, or shadows, it's hard for the computer to tell where you end and where the screen begins.
Lastly, make sure you have plenty of room. The green screen needs to be consistently bright, and that means lots of lighting.
But don't let these rules freak you out. Filming with a green screen can be a lot of fun, and a flashy background can add a lot to your video's production value.
The only limit is your imagination.
So this is a video that I share with students all the time, just to get their head in the right place. And they gave some really good tips, and those are going to be some that I'll kind of remind you of towards the end. Do not dress to match. And in the fire service side, and this happens a lot with students too, they will come in using that neon yellowish color. We call it safety green. Okay, that's got enough of a green hue, it will disappear just like a regular green will. And they're totally right about the patterns. It does dance. And almost if you ever see a computer screen that is on a recording, you'll see lines like it's moving. It kind of dances like that. So they are totally right. But again, the lighting, I'm using natural lighting today. I do have, and I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes, I do have exterior lights as well, like camera lighting. And so
Now, this may shock some of you.
I'm going to go on to the next slide. So why would we use them? This is the fun stuff. Number one, it can make you look professional. Think about it. You could have a background that's custom to you. So like if you're teaching a class and it's your math class, you could have a math themed background for your videos that you create. Or if you're in a department, you could have your department logo behind you. I even have one that I use sometimes for Zooms that has my Mrs. D's virtual PD logo in the background. And so it makes you have that consistent professional background. You're not seeing any kind of clutter or mess, because I know a lot of us have locations or have to record in locations that sometimes aren't the best, or we don't want everybody to see everything behind us. And so using the green screen eliminates that. It provides consistency. So we can have the same type of background all the time. So whenever we're recording, it looks the same. It can elicit excitement. So that they see that background before they see you sometimes, and they're like, "Ooh, it's almost time for this activity." It's fun. Oh my gosh. Like I said, the green screens are my baby. And once you get sucked into that rabbit hole, you will find all kinds of ways to use it. And I'm all the time testing out new ideas. Kids will come in and say, well, I want to, like, we have a couple of classes that have to, for English, they have to create like a new item, a new product, a new invention. And sometimes they come in with these crazy ideas, and I'm like, okay, let's think about how we could make this. One was like, well, we want somebody to be in bed. Well, they found the picture of a bed, and we laid out chairs and covered it with another green screen so that when they laid on it, it looked like they were at the right height to be in that bed. It was really cool. See, there's all kinds of fun things you can do. We've made it look like people fly. We've made it look like someone else is standing in another person's hand, like up in the air. There's all kinds of cool things you can do. It can be used for student creation, projects and assessments. So the students and participants can do and demonstrate things using the green screen. They have to research, they have to find the backgrounds. So they have to think about what they're doing. So if, Dee was talking about home escape planning, they may have an image of some like a home, like a escape map, and then they're standing in front of it talking about it. If we're talking about a math problem, they may have a math problem written out, and they have that behind them, and they're talking through it and pointing to different pieces that they might have struggled with. So there's all kinds of options you can do with this. We've had students do almost full-blown movies. Like some of these videos for their projects have been like 10 and 15 minutes long, and they filmed them all in pieces and then merged them together using the app. So there's lots of options here. Even for us making videos that we are going to share out with students and the public, you can use the green screen to record. You can change the background to encourage discussion or check for comprehension. So I could put myself in different backgrounds, or I could have the backgrounds that students are on. And when they see that background, they have to talk about what it is and get them to talk about it. And we could ask questions. You can hide your location, just like I said earlier. I might be in a home office or a storage room, and I don't want people to see where I am. So I could put up that green background and change the look of where I am, which means that I can be any location and students won't know where I'm at. I have been known to make recordings while I've been on vacation, at the beach, at conferences, and sometimes I've had to record from hotel rooms. Well, we're going to talk about like green tablecloths. I've used a dollar store green tablecloth behind me, and no one had a clue that I was not home. I wasn't at school, but I was actually in a hotel. So you can be any location you want to be, which is pretty cool. In our virtual world, we can change our background to match our lesson all the time. We could have a theme. It could be You know, we're talking school library month is in April, and I could have the background match school library month. If we're talking fire prevention week, we could have the fire prevention week theme in an image behind us. So it could match anything that we want it to. We could also use it as Easter eggs. And I've talked about this before, talking about documentation and assessment. Sometimes we want to make sure that people are watching our videos, and leaving Easter eggs in your videos can help see that they're watching the entire video. So you could have your video background change every once in a while, and there be Easter eggs in there. So a question during your assessment could talk about what they saw in the background or something that you had. You can also use it to brand your videos. Just like we were talking about that professionalism, you could have a common background that's always behind you that's like your brand, kind of like my Mrs. D's virtual PD background is kind of my brand. It has like the honeycomb and then it has my logo on it. So your videos, you could start that way each time. And the cool thing is green screens can be used in a live and a pre-recorded option. And so that's what's really cool is we're in Zoom right now, and I could jump out of sharing my screen, and there's the option for me to change my background to a virtual background. So as long as I have a solid background behind me, I can put whatever I'd like behind me as well. So we can do all kinds of things. We can do it from a live setting, or we can pre-record that we're going to share with an audience at a later time. So this is what everybody always wants to know. What kinds of equipment do I need to get started? So we're going to start with the simple ones. You need to have some type of green screen, and I'm giving you some options here. I'll be very honest. I started with a dollar store tablecloth. Like we're going to the Dollar Tree and getting a green tablecloth. Some places have painted green walls. They have a location that has a solid wall, and they've got permission to paint it green. I have seen people use green poster board or green bulletin board paper. Or you could get a chroma key kit, which is very similar to what you see on the right-hand side. That is actually the kit that I have, or it's one of the kits I have. I have two of them now. I got mine off Amazon for about $120. And then I actually added an additional green screen, a different one that's bigger, and you're going to actually get to see it in just a few minutes because of some of the ways I film. I wanted one that was bigger than comes sometimes with those kits. You need some type of recording device. You could use your cell phone, a digital camera, or even a tablet. Today, I'm going to be using my iPad, but I actually have the same app on my cell phone. So there are times for the fire department and even here at school that I will record it from my phone. The shade of green, it needs to be a particular bright green. And you'll see, they call it chroma. It's like a chroma key. So if you do a search for green screen in Amazon, you will find the right green. And a lot of times the fabric is made out of muslin. So it is like a softer fabric, and I can walk over and show y'all. I'll grab the green screen so y'all can see it. I have a couple different versions of the fabric, but it is like a bright green. It's not neon, it's not forest green. It's closer to almost like a Kelly green. But as long as it is a consistent shade of green, you can adjust it with what I'm using, and I'll show y'all that. And then you need some kind of software. And I'll be honest, there are a ton out there. When the video a few minutes ago, they were actually using software on a computer. What I use is I use the first one, which is Green Screen by Do Inc. It is just iOS, so it only works on Apple products. So I use it on my cell phone and my tablet, my iPad. ChromaVid and KineMaster, they both are Android and iOS. Now, they both work really well. I just like the Green Screen by Do Inc. better. That's been my favorite to use so far out of the ones I've used. So that one is the one I know in and out a lot better. And that's the one I'm going to show you today whenever we're demoing. So this is how I got started. Literally, I told you, I started with a green tablecloth from the dollar store. You do not have to be fancy. So, okay, I'm going to tell you how much I spent when I first started. Dollar store tablecloth, $1. Now, I will be honest, I did buy two so that I'd have a little bit more space when I put them side by side. So I spent $2. My device I started with was my personal iPad. And like I said, I use my phone. it was something I already had on hand, and even the older iPads would run the software. So I was able to use both. I didn't have to spend any money. The software Green Screen by Do Ink was $2.99. I need to check on the price on it, but it's no more than $5 at the most. I think the last time I checked, it was still $2.99. I will be honest, it has been the best purchase ever. You know, a whole whopping less than $5. And, you know, add my $2 for my tablecloths, and I have been able to do amazing things. And that was how I started. Even filming stuff for the fire department, and even at school with students, I used a dollar store tablecloth for a number of years. Some other things that I do recommend. One is a tripod. A backdrop stand is really, really handy. And when we, in just a few minutes, whenever I switch to do the demo, I'm going to show you a couple of these. A device holder. This was huge, was a device holder for my tripod. It's an adapter to hold my iPad and my cell phone. And I found a set on Amazon that gave me both for like $12.99. And whenever I ended up doing that, at first I used to just prop my iPad up against something. You want your green screen, whatever you're going to do in the background, be it a green tablecloth, be it a painted wall, you need some way to do your green screen. And then your studio lights, if you would like them. These are all just recommendations. You don't have to have these. These are just things that make it helpful. Studio lights, if you are going to be somewhere that does not have consistent lighting, the studio lights come in handy. It also is handy whenever you are going to be at night or it is going to get darker. I know Kimmy's sitting over here beside me, and at Kimmy's wedding, I had the green screen out and it got dark over time. And so using the lights allowed me to still take pictures in the dark. And I've done events for homecoming and done ones at the fire department for events that as it got darker in the night, I needed to have some lights. So, and even here at school, sometimes, depending on where kids are filming, I need just an extra light here or there, but I have learned that I can move the green screen around underneath the overhead lights and it'll do the same thing. So just those studio lights are just an extra thing if you have the funds to do it. This is on my wish list. This is called Padcaster. It has the tripod. It has the holder for the iPad. There's actually one set that you get the iPad with it. If you see, it has a microphone. It has a teleprompter. It has lights to face the person. So there are all kinds of pieces to this, and I gave y'all the link. So this actually takes you to the Padcaster website. And it has, like, if you were going to do this and really, there's even holders for your cell phone and regular cameras. So you've got a lot of options on the website. So it has some really cool tools. I just have never had the funds to be able to do that and get these. But with some agencies and some schools, you may end up with a grant, something like that. So this is something you may want to check out at a later date if you really get into the green screen stuff. So I also added some videos for you that show you the 3 software programs or apps you can use. And like I said, you could go do a search and there are tons more out there. But like I said, these are just 3 that I have used in the past. So you've got the green screen by Do Ink, ChromaVid. All my videos are going to start. And then you also have the KineMaster. So these, all 3 will walk through the programs and show you just a basic tutorial of how they work and all that. And like I said, these are all user-friendly. The cool thing is Do Ink, okay, Dee said Do Ink is $4.99. I'm gonna go on and give y'all a heads up that I still would pay. I'm very honest with y'all. Y'all know on the Mrs. D's, on my Mrs. D videos, I tell you if I pay for something, and I pay for Do Ink. It's a one-time purchase, and I still would pay $4.99 for it. That's how much I love it and how user-friendly it is. My little kids are 9 and 10, and they've been able to use Do Ink for years. Like, they have went in and tinkered and made their own videos. And they even have learned how to make the layers and stop motion videos with it. And my oldest uses it too. He's getting ready to turn 21, and it is very user friendly. And even without watching the tutorials, it's pretty user friendly. So, I mean, it is one of those, that's why I really like it.
In this
So we're going to get to the fun stuff. So now you are going to get to see how this all works. So I'm going to unshare my screen for a minute with y'all. You'll get to see me really fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my camera, and you are going to see my iPad, and my lovely volunteer is getting ready to jump into the screen. And I'm going to go in and say, I'm going to probably have to readjust some settings because she has like a light blue that's probably going to give me a little bit of a fit. So give me just a second, and I am going to turn that on. Nope, you're good. Okay. Can y'all see my screen? Yes, okay. So this is my iPad. I'm in the Do Ink app right now. So I'm going to go into a setting, and if you notice, we're going to zoom in just a little bit so y'all can see her. So what I have here, and I'm going to like take this just a little bit so y'all can see. I have the green screen. That's Kimmy. So I have a stand. And like I said, my stand came from Amazon. I also have a very large size green screen. My green screen is a 10 width by 20 length. And the cool thing about it is that by doing that, I can actually lift what's on the floor. And Dee was talking about somebody crawling earlier. They can crawl on the floor and I'll still get whatever the background is. Does that make sense? But if I want to zoom in on them, then I have plenty of space to do that. That's why I love this one, because if I need something on the ground for them to sit on, I can cover it with that really large green screen. I have a really old tripod. So I found this in my attic. He's rusty. I need to name it. But I just went with a simple one. And what I also have is this bracket holds my iPad. And like I said, you can find some of those for like, you can find just that type for like $6.99. But what I also have, and I'll put it over here so y'all can see, oh, about dropped it. This one holds my cell phone. So it goes on to that same tripod. And so I got both of them together in the same thing on Amazon. And so I keep both of them because sometimes I may need my iPad for something and I end up using my cell phone instead. So we're going to zoom in just a little bit so y'all can see this. So this is the Do Ink app. And if you notice, Kimmy, her arms are kind of blending because of the color. And this is the really cool thing that people don't realize is when we're dealing with green screens, we always talk about the green. Well, it doesn't have to be green. If they have no green tablecloths at dollar store, you can get blue and the same thing will happen. When we're in the app, we can actually adjust this to be any color we want. So I'm going to jump out and change my camera really fast. And so I can adjust the sensitivity and she's going to show up. So but you see that the green showed up at the same time. Do y'all see that? And so we have settings that we can adjust. Trying to see if we're going to be able to adjust hers. This is where the colors make a difference, and not wearing the green. I may have to switch with you actually. You got a jacket? Okay. So this happens all the time with kids. They'll come in and the color be weird and their jacket, and I'll be like, oh goodness, that's not gonna work. So see what the difference just putting a jacket on does? Now she shows up. So number one tip, do not wear green and try not to wear something that has that color. Yeah, your blue and your hair, the heads are showing up. So when we're on the cool thing is like with this, I'm filming. Well, right now you're just seeing her. I can take a picture. So say you're just doing a promotional thing, and we've done this at school for homecoming. We've also done events for the fire department. We do a safety fest every October. So Fire Prevention Week, we do a thing with Thomasville. And we always have whatever the theme is in the background, and we do pictures with Sparky. And then we email those. So it's like, it has our safety message on it. It has our departments for advertisement, and it's a keepsake that they get to take home. So it's a messaging, it's an interaction. So you can do that. So if I want to take an image, I can take and capture an image, and now I have a still photo that I can save. You're okay. I can also take recordings. And what's really cool about this is down here at the bottom, I can change these out. So like I could go through, and if I need to be in different backgrounds, I can change different backgrounds at the same time. And this is what our students play with all the time, is they decide, do they want to film in sections with each background? We have some kids that have it timed out so that what they're saying, the background will change behind them as they're talking. There's all kinds of really cool options. So I'm going to hit record video. It's going to count down for me, and it's probably really hard for y'all to see. So 1, and now it's recording. And so she can move around, wave to us. She's dancing. When I hit stop, it's got audio as well. And then you'll see her spin in just a second. And so there's some really neat aspects that we can do with this. And it, like I said, it's very user-friendly. There are 3 levels. So if I wanted something behind her and in front of her, like let's say we wanted a message or a theme in front of her, I can do that. So there's 3 levels or 3 layers. Think about your foreground, where you're standing, and something being behind you. So imagine that. That's what you're going to have with the app. And like I said, there are tutorials that I'm going to give you that show you how this particular app works. But the other cool thing is I'm going to run over there too really fast. Let me touch the screen so it doesn't go to sleep. We can have multiple people. So we both can be on here at the same time. We can interact. If you are talking to a group and you want somebody to demonstrate something, you can do that. And so anywhere that green screen is, then that's whatever you put in the background is there. So if you notice, watch what happens when I turn my screen. Do y'all see that you can see the room now? So as I move it, I have it where the green screen is lined up. So everything shows up there. So you can play with it, and it'll, wherever you have that green is what will show up. And the cool thing is we can move her around too. Watch. If we want to make her big, if we want to turn her to the side, then I can make her move around. If we need her upside down. So you've got some pretty cool effects that you can do with this as well. So the big thing here is imagine, let your wheels start turning, because there's a lot of things that you can do. Okay, I'm gonna come back and switch cameras really fast. Do y'all have any questions so far? I know that it's probably something a little bit different. The big thing with the green screens is like, just imagine where you would want to go. If you wanted to talk about, I work in a library. Well, I'm not always in a setting in the library to talk about things. So I can have it behind me. If I want to be filming, but I want my trucks, like if I at the fire department and I want the fire truck behind me, I can have that and it be looking like I'm sitting in the bay, but I'll be honest, recording in the bay does not work. The audio isn't great. But for kids or for adults, it might be more exciting to make it look like that's where I'm at. And so by using the green screen, I can do that. I have a friend, Maria Bostian, that wrote a couple children's books. We actually recorded her reading one of her picture books with the cover of the book behind her. So imagine the things that you could do. It could be your patches. It could be like lessons. If we're talking, with Like Kimmy, that's my volunteer over here, teaches our OCS students, and those students go out and work in jobs. They can make videos talking about how to interact with people or put them in situations and then act out. Well, if I was in this work situation, how would I talk to somebody, and practice it? And then they could go back and watch it to see how they sounded. Well, did that sound like that was an appropriate response? There's lots of things that we could do to spice up something. And it might be that it's just being like us being fun. We've done it where we're talking about a topic and you really need to get them excited. So we add in a video that we're like, and now we're going to Kimmy live from the football field. Kimmy's not on the football field, she's in here. But the kids don't know that because we've got a video in the background, but she's talking about the topic as if she was on the football field. So we can, get them excited about that topic. So we're going to hit the last couple little things really fast. Let me share my screen again with you. And when y'all download the video, or if you go and look at the video at a later time, there will be a section in there that'll actually have clips of us actually recording. So the last little part that we're going to talk about before y'all get a chance to kind of ask some questions and get some nitty-gritty things answered, I'm going to talk about some tips that I've learned. Number one, play with the software. Get comfortable with it. Watch tutorials, and I'm going to go on and tell you, and I know y'all don't like this part probably, but practice, 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 and get in front of it yourself. I am the one that is notorious for trying it out myself. There is, like on your iPad or cell phone, you may find that the audio is quiet. I am all the time telling students, project your voice. I'm like, it might feel like you're yelling, but you're not really in the audio. Another thing you may want to do that's not on here is you may want to pick up some type of external microphone. I actually have a 16-foot lapel mic that we use now. There's also wireless ones. There's all kinds of options. The Padcaster ones have the ones that are attached to the iPad to pick up sound. So there's all kinds of options there. Another one is plan out your background. Think about what you want in the background. High resolution photos do best. If you do not have a high resolution photo, it's going to be grainy. I'm notorious for telling students, do not go to Google and save an image from there, because number one, it's probably copyrighted. And number two, you've got to look at the pixel size, because if it says 150 by 300, yeah, that's going to be grainy when you put it in the background. So what I did for y'all is I put in a link here to copyright friendly photo options. And this is a s'more that I have that my students use that have video or have websites that have copyright friendly images. And I'll go on and tell you the one that I use the most is Pixabay. So the background that you saw with all the books, that is from Pixabay. So if I put in beach and I do a search, all of the images here, if you are on this website, you can use these without attributions, meaning you don't really have to say where you got them from. Now they will tell you, so let's say that I want to put this as my background. It's going to tell you it has a Pixabay license, it's free for commercial use, and there's no attribution required. This is a completely free website. It also gives you the sizes, and I'm going to download one of these so you can see. When it pops up, it says if I would like to attribute who the image came from, this is what I would put. So I could put that at the bottom of my image. I could have, if I'm doing a presentation, I could have a slide that has all the attributions and which slide the pictures are on. So I could have all of that to let people know where that image came from. So that's just, these are that you can totally use. They're free and you do not have to sign up for an account, which I really like being in the school system. And so then with that image I can use in the background on my device. Landscape images do better than portraits. So have it horizontal, not a vertical picture. That does the best. You want to check lighting. If you have a shadow or are too close to the green screen, you will start to see green. And so that's where the lighting comes in, making sure that you have enough lighting, that you don't have lights coming through the green screen because that'll make it turn green too. Avoid clothing that is green or has that hint of green, kind of like this blue did. Our school color is very close to what she's got on, and it has just enough of that green hint that it's sometimes hard to get out and adjust the settings. So I recommend avoiding those colors altogether. And avoid clothing with patterns. Just like they said earlier, it really, really helps. Another thing that I have on here for y'all is this is what I use with students when they are coming to film. Oh, let me check the chat. She said somebody's got a chat. What size image is best? I would go as large as you can. Like a 1500 by 1500 works really great, but if you can get it 2000 or more, that is even better. The highest resolution that it is available is best. Have I had things under 1000 work? Absolutely, but they are a little bit more grainy. That's size-wise, that's what I have found. And so if you take the picture yourself on your cell phone or on a regular camera, you should be completely fine. But if you're doing off one of the websites, as large as it'll let you. This is a checklist, like I said, that I use for students, and this is what we do when they're coming to the production room. And I talk to them about their script. Do they have it memorized, or are they going to need cue cards or a poster? There are some really cool teleprompter apps out there for free. So if you are going to have a long script, and I'll be the first person to say I have to refilm all the time because I try to memorize things and that doesn't always work. Having yourself some type of cue cards, but you want to make sure that it doesn't look like you're reading from a card in your hand. So having it where you can easily see it with almost close to the camera is best. If you're doing special effects and features, you're going to need to play with it some. There are some really neat tutorials that show you how to do those. And Do Ink actually has an animation and drawing app that integrates with their green screen app. And so you can actually make something and animate it and then put that into your green screen. So it's pretty cool. I make my students drop their backgrounds into Google Drive because I need to get the pictures to my iPad. And so I have the Google Drive app on my iPad, and then I go in and I drop them to the photos so that I can access them. And so that's a huge thing, is figure out what way you're going to get your pictures to the device that you're going to be recording on. And it could be any kind of way. The backgrounds need to be JPEG or PNG files. And then the background videos, if you're going to do one that's a video, it needs to be an MOV file or an MP4. So either one of those works. If you think about props, are you going to use props? You know, there are some fun props that we can use to get students' attention, show or demonstrate something. Make sure you think about your prop and the size of your prop that it's going to be seen. Also think about the color of your prop. We have some fun props for when we're doing homecoming and fun pictures in the photo booth for prom. And we've realized that, especially when it comes to ones that are like beachwear, sometimes a lot of those props have those green hues and they blend in. Nothing beats a blue grass hat. It blends in, you can't see it. Or the fun sunglasses, the big sunglasses, and they're blue and they don't do as well. So we try to stay away from those. So think about your props. And then if you were going to record multiple scenes, one tip that I do have for you is if you are going to record multiple scenes for a video, remember you can record out of order. If I have 3 that look like they're going to be in the bay of the fire department, but one's at the beginning and one's at the end, film both clips with that background and then change your background to do the next one. If I'm going to be doing an instructional video in my beginning, my opening and my closing, both are going to have my logo on them. I'm going to film both of those back to back so that I don't have to keep changing out the background in the program. And then one of the biggest things that I can tell you is practice when you're doing these. get up there, try it yourself, practice, run through it, practice with the props. And you've got to, just like acting things out, recording them like normal, sometimes it feels like we're doing things bigger and exaggerating things, but it shows up on camera almost like we're not exaggerating at all. And project your voice. You want to make sure that people can hear you clearly, and then have fun. Oh my gosh, there's so many cool things that we can do with the green screen. And once you find out and your brain starts spinning, you're going to be like, ooh, I could do this, or ooh, I could do that. And you could just run with it and come up with so many amazing products and things. I've got a couple links for you. The app, like I said, that I use is Do Ink. I have 3 links for y'all. One is Green Screen Frequently Asked Questions. They've got some great tips on there. There's a link on their page that has all kinds of tutorials on how to use their program, how to do a lot of special effects, how to edit. My students edit videos in this. So they may make 8 different clips. They can merge them all back together using this app. So they can drop them all back in and merge them. So that's how a lot of times they make their videos and export them is straight from this app. And then there's a really cool video about how to make a video using Do Ink. And so that one was really neat. And it goes step by step through the process with you. Another link that I gave you is how to make a green screen. This one goes through step by step, setting it up, making sure you've got all of your stuff together. It talks about, why would you do it, how to do it, options with the stands and the fabric and all of that as well. So it really goes through, it's really neat on how to get it all set up. If you didn't sign in, if you joined us late, make sure that you sign in. I'm going to put that back in the chat window. And while y'all are doing that, if you have any questions, you can email me at my school email or my fire department email. My Twitter handle is on there as well. And then at the bottom of the slide, you have my website. This is my PD website. So this is where I post videos. This is where the recordings will be. And you can actually go back and watch older recordings as well. Soon you're going to see links to my YouTube channel. I'm transferring a lot of stuff to YouTube. And I'm also going to be setting up a Facebook page in the near future that's going to have quick, like 5-minute tutorials popping up. So all of that stuff will be announced on my website soon, hopefully the next month. But while people are kind of wrapping up, if you have questions, please let me know.